everyone. Welcome back to another video. So this is going to be a podcast. I have Miss Denise with me, and we're going to be just getting up to date on just what we've been seeing going on with Olivia. Share our opinions on the matter, what we are observing with all of this playing out, and we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So I know since the last time we spoke, Olivia was still in Texas, and we were still seeing AJ, we were still seeing Kalani, we were seeing the 3 hour lives, sometimes longer, but a lot has transpired. Now that everything came out with what happened between her and Gerard, she has basically made the decision to leave Texas. And now she's back in Florida. It was stated from her, and I did see in the comment section where it was alleged that Gerard was threatening to get her locked back up, possibly due to him being upset because she outed him on the internet. Again, I'm just kind of going off of what Olivia said, and there were other people in the comment section saying certain things lining up to that. But the reality is she ended up leaving. And as a result of her leaving Texas, she left behind her 3 older children. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I feel like that she couldn't take the heat. That's number one. Because I, just assume, I know we are not privy to all the background information, what goes on in the background between Nisha, Gerard, and, how they are changing how they're dealing with Liv. But, I just assume that maybe because of the situation of her getting caught up, that it affected how often she can see her children, how often she can call her children. So I think that, along with maybe being threatened with jail and other things, caused her to run. And I think it was maybe an irrational decision because, you have to deal with the courts. And I don't think moving to another state is going to stop the repercussions of what the courts are going to do to her. But that is what I thought about it.
I think one of the things that really bothers me, and I think it bothers a lot of people, is the fact that she does seem to move in a way where she feels nothing can touch her. No consequences will ever come towards her, because I think in some ways it seems that she's gotten away with things that typically people wouldn't get away with. I think that causes her to be a little cocky in certain instances. But I have spoke recently about the fact that I think the reason why we're not seeing a lot take place as a result of her choices is because of grace. But at the same time, I don't think she really understands that God is allowing a lot of these situations. And a lot of the stuff she is going through is a result of God having her to go through some things, because she's not listening. She said multiple times how hard-headed she is. Mm-hmm. And, God definitely knows how to get a hold to somebody who's stubborn, who's very hard-headed and strong-willed, if you will. But I just feel like the choices that she has made up until this point, she doesn't recognize that, life is definitely lifing when it comes to her, but she's not understanding that she's in like this turmoil because she's not getting what she needs to be getting.
Yeah. I think, like you said, because she's not facing consequences. And, I really have to look at Gerard again, because why isn't he implementing what he could on behalf of her leaving or not paying child support? He hasn't done what he should have done. And I don't really understand his reasoning. And the only thing that I can think of, especially in this situation, is maybe because he was guilty of doing what he was doing with her, he didn't implement the charges. It's not really making a lot of sense to me why he didn't.
Yeah, it's a lot of things that, since I've been kind of watching things play out prior to it coming out that, they were intimate again. It was a lot of things even prior to that I just was not understanding, with why Gerard was moving a certain way, which is why I did speculate that something must have been going on between them. Now that that has kind of played out, and I know some people still don't believe it, but I definitely do believe that they were back messing around with each other. Now with everything coming out the way that it did, it does seem like Gerard has always had the power to move a certain way when it came to, Olivia being able to see those children. And now it's seeming like because Gerard really has not uh, made certain decisions when it came to that, it seems like Nisha may be the one who's kind of calling the shots on that. And I think that within itself is kind of a slippery slope for me, because it's like on one hand, I can understand as her being his wife that you want things to go a certain way because there has been infidelity. And of course, that has affected the trust in their relationship. And so you want things to go in a way where you can some kind of way feel comfortable with their dynamic and having children together. But on the flip side of that, it's it definitely kind of rubs me the wrong way, because it's like you're putting yourself in a position of having authority over a situation that really doesn't have anything to do with you. Okay. Because biologically, those are not her children. And I just really have a hard time really navigating that situation, because like I said, I can see both sides of it.
Yeah. I mean, no, I agree. And another thing that bothers me is when you don't have children, you can kind of guess what it's like to have children or to be a mom, but you don't really know. Yeah. So for her to make the move that she has made regarding the children, I think it shows that you don't know what it's like having children. I don't think that is very wise, because she wants a certain outcome, like you said, regarding Gerard and Olivia's relationship as far as how they deal with each other. But I don't think it's very wise to drag him and make him do certain things that he wouldn't do on his own. Because, I mean, if this is my husband, somebody that genuinely loves me, I would think that I would not, of course, number one, catch you sleeping around with your kid's mother. I wouldn't have to make you make choices that benefit our marriage.
Yeah, and that's why, again, prior to this coming out where they were messing around back with each other, I would say, well, I had said a few times that I did not understand why Gerard wasn't defending Nisha. I get the fact that, some people may say, well, he's too grown. He don't feel the need to come on this internet and say anything. And that's true. Like, everybody has a choice in how they want to handle a situation. But I feel like the things that Olivia was saying about Nisha for a long time, just the disrespect and how she was calling her the maid, calling her the help, just being downright disrespectful towards her, because Olivia is a social media figure and she does have a presence and she shows their children on the internet. I feel that puts the whole situation in a different category, because it's like you kind of have to address certain things, especially when it comes to the way Olivia was like dragging Nisha for a long time. And I just was looking at Gerard like, okay, if this is your wife and you love her and you see the disrespect, you've come on Instagram other times to put Olivia in her place. Why not make it a point to put Olivia in her place in this instance and shut it down? Why not go to the court and let it be known, look, this is what she is doing and I want it to stop? Why not go that route? I just felt like there were so many things that Gerard could have done to really shut it down and show Nisha that he was really for her. And I just felt like he didn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with you there. It leaves so many questions about the dynamic of their marriage and how he truly feels about her. And yeah, I definitely feel that he should have put a rest to the things that she was saying about his child's mother. But it made me wonder, and I know people may disagree with what I say, but it really made me wonder how he truly feels about Liv if she was just able to just continue on doing stuff like that unchecked.
I
Like
mean,
how, like why?
I agree. I do feel that I think it's hard for some people to believe that with everything that we see in Olivia, she doesn't have a career. She doesn't seem to be motivated to really do anything with her life. Um, she's definitely showed infidelity when they were married. The way she is with their children and the other two children, like there's so many reasons why we can look to Olivia as not being the ideal woman.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the reality is, with all of that being said, there was something in Olivia that Gerard liked. Mm-hmm. He liked it enough to have 3 children by her. He liked it enough to chase her when she left Texas. A couple of times he followed her, even to the point of marrying her. Some people say the only reason why he married her was because he wanted to get a leg up so he could get the kids. I mean, that's a possibility, but I feel it was more to it than that. I think he really was infatuated with that girl. Mm-hmm. And I think that we have to look at the fact, too, they were together for 9 years. Yeah. You're not going to be with somebody for 9 years that if it's a situation of you not really liking that person. He knew who this woman was, all her flaws and everything. He knew her. And he still chose to be with her.
Right. And double back again while she had 2 children by someone else.
Right. So I just think we have to really look at the situation for what it is and really assess it in a way where we're open-minded about what this situation could potentially be. And I think the reasons that, we have seen things play out the way that it has is because I think there is still some lingering feelings there. Yeah. I've called it out when it came to Olivia. It did not matter how many times this girl came on this internet and tried to make it seem like, ew, he's gross, ew, I would never, like, girl, stop. We know, we know that's not what it is. Like, you would get Gerard, if Gerard made it a point to let you know that he wanted to get back with you, you would do it in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that was why she came back to Texas this last time. It wasn't just for her children. She wanted to get Gerard back. Yeah. And when it didn't play out the way she hoped, we saw this girl crash out for 5 years. And then you ended up getting him back. You believed what he was saying to you, and you got in your feelings again when he didn't choose you, and you ran back to Florida. This is the pattern. This has always been the pattern between them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I am, and I'm sorry that I keep kind of redirecting back to Nisha, but I cannot understand why someone, because she seems like she does well for herself. Like she has a job, she can take care of herself, all of that stuff. In my opinion, I think she adds to Gerard's life because here she is at home. She's helping him with the kids. She's also bringing to the table with, her financially. She's not a bad looking woman at all. I don't understand why she continues to allow him to do her the way that he does when she doesn't have anything to lose, in my opinion, if she was to get rid of him. But it seems like she takes him back over and over again after he continuously cheats on her. And you are mothering his children. Like, I don't see what she has to gain by staying with him or allowing him to constantly treat her bad.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And I think the reality of that is there is some type of insecurities that she has. Like you said, she's a beautiful girl. Mm-hmm. She's intelligent. She has a nice income, a nice job. She can definitely provide a good lifestyle for herself without Gerard. Mm-hmm. The vacations they take, I'm sure she can take her own vacations with her and her family or her homegirl. So I agree. I don't really just see the reasons behind why she would continually put herself in that situation. I think love can make you do some dumb things, Yeah. But, I would never take away from the fact that she did step in when it came to those children. I will forever give her credit for that, because a lot of women wouldn't be able to put up with that, especially dealing with a baby mama like Olivia. That is a lot to deal with. But I think for me, what I just really did not like is just the way I felt Gerard chose to move in not defending Nisha the way I feel he should have. Because I feel like any woman being in a relationship, whether y'all are just boyfriend, girlfriend, or y'all are husband and wife, a woman wants to feel protected. A woman wants to feel as if her man is going to stand up for her and have her back. And I just felt like Gerard dropped the ball on that.
If he dropped the ball in every aspect of their relationship, including the marriage. Now, I know people want to look at him and think that he's a great person. I won't take away from the fact that Gerard is a great father. He seems to be a great father. But when it comes down to women, he has a track record of not being faithful. And I wasn't around to really observe the dynamic between he and Liv and their marriage, their relationship. But when it comes down to Nisha, again, she has brought you so much into this relationship. And, like you said, you're not taking up for her. You kind of are leaving her out there to look real bad. So it makes me look at him as a person because, what are you doing? This is your wife.
Yeah. And, some people can look at Nisha as being an upgrade from Olivia. Yeah. Let's just say that's what it is. Nisha is an upgrade. But why is it that he has done Nisha the exact same way he's done Olivia? Yeah. So it can't be it was just Olivia. It's him being the common denominator, because if this is how you are in your relationships and in your marriages, I mean, we have to call it as we see it.
I completely agree. And who's to say when she would get tired? The thing that when I looked at all of this play out, I said to myself, you can take Liv out of the situation and it will be another woman. They're still not, because this is his nature. This is just who he is.
I can't recall if it was Gerard who told this story or Olivia who told this story, but it was said that Gerard's father was the same way, that he was, I guess you want to call it a womanizer. He had multiple women. He had children by multiple women. And Gerard's mother was the one who pretty much held everything down. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he was married to Gerard's mother, but I just know Gerard's mother was the one who kind of just, she just kind of took on a lot of things. And one of Gerard's sisters, her mother was the other woman. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like this is a pattern. Yeah. And what bothers me is when Olivia said that her and Gerard was interacting with each other in their rekindling their relationship recently in front of the children, I was like, oh my gosh, y'all are repeating another cycle. Because here it is, Christian is witnessing his father being, affectionate with his mother, and those children knew that him and their they knew their parents wasn't together. They knew that they had to go home in a couple of days or a day later and go back into the same living situation where they see their father and Nisha being a married couple. And it's just, that within itself was so traumatic, and I did not understand why, even though Olivia said she did not like the fact that Gerard was wanting to show that in front of them, it's like, you still are guilty of doing it. You still participated in doing that in front of your children. And I cannot begin to process in my mind how traumatic and how confusing that would be to them, seeing that. Because it's almost like y'all put y'all's children in a situation where they had to figure out how to not express that to Nisha when they were around her. Like, it's almost like y'all made them keep a secret. Yes. You see what I'm saying? Like, it was just so many things about that situation that was very wrong.
That made me highly uncomfortable too, because that is very confusing to a child. It can cause resentment in a child, because I know, and these are Olivia's children. Of course, they love their mom. So to see their father go back and forth between the two of them, that cannot bring good feelings within their children. And they have to be deceptive to a certain degree because they're going home. I'm sure they love Nisha as well, and they're having to lie to her. So again, just to put your children in that type of situation is very concerning, in my opinion. But I love your channel, and I know that your viewers love him. But I have to put a spotlight on it because just being married to someone who doesn't treat you well is not a flex. Regardless of if they are financially supportive or, whatever, it's not a flex when this is what you are laying with every night.
Yeah. And I look at Christian because he is the only male child and he has the potential of repeating another cycle. We don't know how Gerard's father's father was, but it's like this is 3 generations down. And I'm just hoping and praying that Christian breaks the cycle.
Yeah.
And it usually happens where, unfortunately, it's put on the children to try to break these cycles that our parents have continued.
But your daughters view a man who does those things as normal. So how does that affect their life when they're dating or marrying?
Of course. And you see just how Olivia carries herself as a woman. That is so many different things that can become so problematic in who they will become as adults. And that's why I always encourage my viewers to just pray for these children because they need it.
Yeah.
They really do need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. They're the real victims.
Yeah. How do you feel? Because, I said early on when she just made talks of her moving back to Florida before she even moved, when she was just talking about moving back,
mm-hmm.
I was very torn with that because on one hand, I was looking at it like, okay, maybe her being back in an environment that it seemed to be better for her. She was around her sister. It seemed like she did better in that environment. I was very torn because I'm like, okay, maybe that would be best for her to just leave. But then on the flip side, the reality was because of the custody situation, I knew it would mean her walking away from her 3 older children. Now that she has moved, how do you view that dynamic? Because I know it's a very sensitive topic because at the end of the day, those 3 little children have been left behind again. This is not the first time she has left them.
Mm-hmm.
But what are your thoughts on her making that decision?
I felt like, and again, I don't know what the dynamics were behind the scene. I don't know if Nisha, her family, Gerard, or whoever went in on her. I don't know how that worked. I'm not sure, again, if her relationship with her children was affected and how much she could call them or visit them. I just feel like, honestly, everything that she did caught up with her. I feel like she felt the heat. She felt the heat. And that's the reason why she ran out of town, because she wanted the support of her mother, her sister. But I kind of feel like she just gave up because she was down there alone and she didn't really feel, I don't think she knew how to really continue to handle the situation after she brought all that heat on herself, because this was definitely self-inflicted. And so, do I think that it was right that she left her children? Of course not. With her brain and not being able to think correctly, to process things correctly, I feel like she just made a huge mistake, and it was a spur of the moment decision that she didn't really think thoroughly, and I believe she's going to pay for it. But when it comes down to her mom and her sister, I do believe, she received the support that she was needing. That was the wrong way to go about it.
Yeah. And I do feel Olivia is very impulsive, and she goes off of emotion. She does not have emotional intelligence whatsoever. And that's not a dig, that's just observation. She very much is impulsive. And I feel like whatever may have transpired, because I do remember when she was still in Texas, you could tell she was very hurt by, just the way Gerard responded in that whole situation of Nisha, basically knowing what it went down. She was hurt by it. because like I said, it was a lot of stuff she was saying where you could tell she was very comfortable in believing the things that they were discussing. They were going to take trips. They basically was going to get back together. Like she was hinting towards that for a while. And, the fact that, he opened up to her and shared what was going on in his marriage with Nisha, I think that made her feel extremely comfortable. Yeah. And, I feel that, like I said, with how things played out, where he let it be known, like, look, this is my wife. In other words, I'm going to choose to be with her. I'm not leaving. I'm going to stay here. I think she was not expecting that. I think she was caught off guard. Because Olivia definitely comes on here and she's always saying, I'm that girl. I can have any man I want. But yet, this man did not choose you again. And so I think it really did something to her. And I think in that moment, she was solely going off of her hurt towards what went down between her and Gerard, and her children were an afterthought.
I mean, I agree, but I think also, when she would call Nisha the maid and all these different things, what I would see behind that was that you really feel that this woman replaced you. Mm. So I think couple that with Gerard just abandoning her and letting her know I'm not leaving my wife, she really felt like her entire family was gone. Yeah. So I think when you're thinking that kind of way, she probably felt it easy to leave because that was her way of thinking. Not understanding that, of course, your children love you and they will always be your children and you should stay in there and fight for your children however long you have to. Because personally, I would have stayed there until they were 18, until they could have made their own decisions to be with me. But I believe that after, Gerard really showed her how he really felt, she was just completely defeated on all fronts. Yeah. And honestly, when I look at the videos, the footage of her being in Florida, she looks defeated, in my opinion. She looks more defeated than I've ever seen her look.
Yeah. And I think you're saying something correct when you say that, her mental was basically, her feeling as if her place as a mother was replaced by Nisha. Because I can recall her saying that, and she said this multiple times, it shouldn't be this hard to be a mother. It shouldn't be this hard to hold the position that was rightfully given to me. Meaning, I literally carried these children. These are my children. I birthed these children, and yet I don't have my children. This other woman is taking my spot. And so I definitely can agree with what you're saying there. Olivia always tries to have the persona that she's strong, but she's very weak. And again, that's not a dig. I just feel that she just does not have the mental capacity to deal with things. Because if I'm not mistaken, I believe Gerard has said in the past that she has threatened to take her life a couple of times. Mm-hmm. So there is an instability there in her mind that shows that she's not as strong as she tries to make herself out to be.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly with you, and she lacks strategy. She doesn't know how to fight. Because even when she was going back and forth with her court case with her children, there were too many times where she just did not do what the judge was asking her to do, and that resulted in the loss. So I don't think it was just so much that she didn't care to fight for her children. She felt defeated. And there are not many times a judge will just take your children. So again, I just think she didn't follow through. She lacked strategy. She gave up in her mind before it was all said and done. And I think we've witnessed that over and over and over again with her. And it's the same situation now, giving up, running away. So yeah, that's how I see that.
And even with you saying that, that's why I wrestle when it comes to what type of support system do you truly have? Because if we see this about Olivia and we are just viewers, obviously her mother knows the person that Olivia is. I think she knows her inabilities and her weaknesses and what she lacks. I think her sister knows. Yeah. So it's like, if y'all knew that this girl was in a position of really losing her children, and she was going back and forth to court. She's getting documentation showing what the judge is ordering her. Why wasn't her mother and her sister there in her life, strong, to help her fight, to help her, guide her behind the scenes on what she needed to do, helping her sort through the documentation if she just couldn't comprehend it? Like, there should have been the people that she's holding strong to say, this is my family, they my ride or dies, they have my back. If this is truly what it is, why didn't they show up when it mattered the most? Where were they?
You know, I don't get that her mom or sister just doesn't care. So it kind of makes me wonder if they're lacking in the same areas that she's lacking in. And it would kind of make sense, because even if her family didn't have the financial wherewithal, which it seems like they didn't, regardless of what Liv says, you can give her advice. You can kind of guide her on what she should do. If I'm not mistaken, did she not represent herself?
She did.
So again, as a mom, I may not know where to go, but I can say, oh, here are resources for people who work pro bono in family court, or, whatever the situation is. I don't see that her mom or her sister did that. And again, they could be very ignorant in those areas just as she was. And I think another half of that is dealing with her their whole life. They know that she's prone to this kind of behavior, and they are used to picking up, after her, and they are used to cleaning up her mistakes. Her mom literally left her home for years just to be there with her to help her raise the children. So I think no mom does that unless she knows that you are severely lacking when it comes down to parenting. I really feel like when her mom left, she was tired. And so the things that went on after that, although she may love her daughter, you have to deal with this. She's like, you have to deal with this. I can't deal with this anymore. So I think, yes, they may open arms to embrace her coming back down there, but they're at the point to where it's like, hands off. It's not really much else I can do. We've been helping you your whole life.
Yeah. And, just to be clear, initially when her and Gerard went to court, Gerard was lawyered up. Olivia, being Olivia, she thought she could win just off of the back of her being the biological mother. So that was why she represented herself. And it failed. And she then knew, okay, this is getting serious. So that's when she tried to get a lawyer. She did a GoFundMe. People was donating to the GoFundMe, and she did not use that money to attain a lawyer. So she went into it again, trying to represent herself, even though the people gave her money for it. And when she saw it was getting even worse, that's when she tried to hire an attorney. But at that point, it was too late. And I think she went through maybe 2 or 3 attorneys, because I think the reasoning was she was just not, she wasn't abiding to their counsel, which, again, typical Olivia. So she's been very hard-headed. She's been very stubborn. She's been very ignorant in how she has moved throughout this whole situation. And like you said, all of this could have been avoided had she did what the court suggested. And I feel if you were really about fighting for your children, that's how you fight. And she didn't fight.
I completely agree with you. And I think there's always been a severe incompetency when it comes to her, not just as a mother, but as a human being. I mean, when you look at her situation currently, you've moved from Texas. I don't know where her things are. I'm not sure if she put them in a storage or if she's just starting from scratch. But you're talking about getting surgery and, some wealthy. It's kind of like your values. I don't think you do the best for yourself, yet alone your children. So then I kind of look at it and it's like, I can't even really take it personal, how she abandoned them, because you literally abandon yourself daily.
I mean, you just said a whole word right there. And I think that goes along with, how can you be a mother to somebody if you yourself never knew what that looked like? How can you pour love into someone when you don't even know what love looks like? And so I think everything that we're seeing when it comes to Olivia, yeah, we can pick that woman apart. We can shake our head constantly, because it's like, girl, what are you doing? Why would you think that's okay? Why are you, doing the things that you're doing when it comes to your children, and you don't see anything wrong with it? But I think it just, we can sit here and we can analyze, and we can say, okay, she did drop out in 8th grade. And that's a whole nother conversation. But it definitely shows there is something within her that has been stunted.
Yes.
Growth has been stunted. Just a level of intellectual maturity has been stunted. Emotional intelligence has been stunted. The ability to have social awareness, to be able to identify red flags, like everything's been stunted because she has not had anybody in her life that has really tried to just show her the right way from an early age. And now we're seeing the progression of what that looks like when you lack that.
I agree. And heavy on that emotional intelligence and mental intelligence, because I know moms that had kids when they were 14 years old that are college graduates. Kids are college graduated. They were very healthy, well taken care of. These women were working since they became parents. So it's really no excuse for her that she dropped out at 8th grade. Normally you progress as you grow, as you live and as you learn. You have your children and you recognize after a while, I have to do something about this. I'm not making enough money. I have to go get educated. I have to continue my education. But she did none of that because Olivia likes to take the shortcut in life. She doesn't like to do anything that's going to require time, that's going to require a lot of effort. She wants to get it the easy way, the microwave way. And I think that is the real reason why a lot of her life is, continuing a cycle for that reason.
She does not want to put forth the work or the effort, which is why she came on here and said, I'm on the hunt for a white, wealthy, 50-year-old man. That's why she wants to get her body done, because she feels that women who look a certain way and have a certain aesthetic, they can land a wealthy man that's going to take care of them. That is her mentality. And like you said, it's all about trying to find the easy route so she does not have to put in the work or the effort.
I mean, I don't understand, when I looked at her saying that, I was thinking to myself, like, how old are you, girl? Like, you are too old to still be in this frame of mind, because you're going to wake up one day, you're going to be in your 40s, and you're still going to be at square one. And typically, from my experience, what I've noticed with women like her, their children would be grown and they will try to live with their children because they didn't accomplish much in life. So when I look at her, I'm like, a lot of times I know you think that you are so smart, that you just have everything, you're so ahead of people, but you just really don't realize that you are your worst enemy. And every step that you take, every thought that has come to fruition from you has led you further and further down a hole. Like, I don't understand how she looks back at her choices and what they have gotten her and still think that her thoughts are healthy.
Yeah. I mean, it is weird. And, I just feel like even with the reality of what you said, that she's closer to 40, this is why she's wanting to rewind the clock and say, I'm 30. When she has her birthday in a few more days, instead of her saying and owning up to the fact that she's going to be 35, I'm going to be 30. Because she's trying to hide behind that reality that, girl, you are pushing 40 and you haven't accomplished anything in your life. So it doesn't matter how many years you say you in your 30s, it's not going to change the reality that, girl, that is not what is given. And somebody in the comment section said, girl, do you not realize you have a tattoo on your arm that says established in 1990? Like, I mean, come on, that's what I'm saying. Like, girl, you just be talking and don't even just be making sense. Like, all we gotta do is look at your arm, girl, and see when you were born. But it's just the fact that she continues to choose to want to live in a false reality, and it just shows even more that she cannot deal with her own reality. She cannot face the fact that this is who she is, this is where she is in life, these are the choices that she's made. You are literally walking in your consequences on a daily. Some people will say you are literally walking in karma on a daily. And she will find ways to deflect, project, and try to make it seem like that's not what it is, but that is exactly what it is.
Yes. I agree. And she have to realize that we are going towards a different America. So, honey, your free ride is going to get cut short. They are literally shorting Section 8 to 2 years, SNAP benefits, like everything that you are currently using to survive. that is not going to last very long. And at this point, I know that she's putting a lot of money and effort into doing the outward work, but she literally has to invest in herself as a person because, again, the freeloading part of America is not going to be here very long to support you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know some people are kind of feeling a certain way about it. I feel like when you become used to having things being given to you become stagnant in that. You become so complacent in it to where you never have the desire to want to get it on your own. I will forever say I think it's a great resource for people who are hitting, a rough patch in life, or when they're just starting out and they're trying to figure things out. That is what those resources are for. But it was never meant for us to live off of. And you look down and you like 4 generations deep of being in families that have lived off of Section 8, living in the projects, getting food stamps, and having the government take care of you. Like you 4 generations deep. Something is wrong with that.
I completely agree because it matters what your children see. Like if your children see you living that kind of way, they're going to think that that's normal. Yeah. And that literally can be their ambition. I'm going to get up, get 18, I'm going to go get welfare, I'm going to get Section 8. So you have to really be careful for that because as I said on one of the videos we did before, my mother took Section 8. And when I tell you she was up and off that in 3 years, now homeowner, working a job, that was never her goal. So again, I do see like, yeah, it's fine to use it as a stepping stone, but to just stay there and become stagnant the way that she is, and this is what you are showing your children, I really don't understand how people survive off of it because it's just not enough for you to stay in that place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think there are so many things in life that have been knocking at her door for years, and it's like she's just not paying attention to what God is trying to say to her through these trials.
Yeah. And speaking of God, and we've had conversations about this off the mic. Mm-hmm. I wrestle when it comes to how I commentate on her because you know who I am as a person, and I know who you are. Having a relationship with God is so important, and that's one of the things that we have so much in common is our relationship and our understanding of God. When I listen to the things that Olivia says when she inserts God into certain conversations, and you definitely hear her doing it more, and I have to be honest, I do feel we're hearing more of the conversation of God because of where she's at in her life right now. I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. That is just who I am to the core. Some people may get irritated by that. Some people may appreciate that. But that is just who I am. I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. And the reality of that is people are going to always show you which side of that they stand on. Mm-hmm. They're going to either show you were right to give them the benefit of the doubt or you were wrong.
Yeah.
And I feel like with Olivia, although I want to give her the benefit of the doubt that she's being genuine, I do feel at times she's being very manipulative. Mm-hmm. I do feel at times she uses God as a deflection. Of course. As a place to kind of hide behind because of her getting the karma, if you will, and her being in the situation that she is in, that she has made fun of other women when they were in her situation. I just find it difficult to continually give grace to someone who's playing around with grace, who's playing around with the idea that, yeah, God can definitely be extremely instrumental in a person's life when going through similar situations that this girl is going through. Mm-hmm. But I just don't feel when she talks on it, it's coming from a genuine place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, honestly, with her channel, she's been scrutinized for her actions so much that she's gotten to a place to where she recites what sounds good. And again, I don't dispute the fact that God is trying to get her attention. Yeah. So there are some things that she say like, yeah, I believe that God has really been knocking at your door. Now, how serious you take that, I can't say, because your actions show that you are willing to go in the same direction that you have been going in. Now, what I believe, because every human has come to this place in their life to where they have been broken down so badly because of the road that they're traveling, that it causes you to make a choice. Now, some people choose God, others don't choose God. But I do believe that she is literally coming to that place because it's not over for her. Like, we've not seen her lowest yet. It seems like a good decision that she's in Florida, and I mean as far as the support with her mother, not as far as her leaving her kids. But you can't run away from yourself. You've caused all the problems, and I'm not saying that Gerard isn't guilty of causing certain things in her life or whatever, but you have been the primary problem in your life. You cannot outrun yourself, and you are your biggest enemy. So I can't help but believe that even in Florida, problems are going to follow her because she hasn't changed anything. She's the same person.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. It definitely does. And, you know, although I do believe that God can definitely use these situations to get our attention, what worries me about Olivia is how far to the bottom do this girl have to go in order for her to get it? Because, like I was talking to you behind the scenes, as a mother myself, just the thought or the threat of someone being able to take my children away, that would be enough. Mm-hmm. And the fact that she has gone 5 years in custody, going to court, and seeing the aftermath of her no longer having her children, and it resulted in you having visitation rights, that's crazy that you have not reached the bottom yet. And so I worry how much more has to happen in order for this girl to really get it.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of Proverbs where it says that a fool has many whelps on his back. And what it really shows me is that because she has not agreed to allow wisdom to set in through her situations, then the whip has to continually come because you are hardening your heart like Pharaoh. And it's like after that happens, then it's continually going to be the wrath, the judgment that is following behind you. And that's honestly kind of what I witnessed on her behalf. Now, you know, aside from all the evil that she's done and the mistakes, I would hope that she turns her life around, that she gets better. I would hope that her situation wouldn't end with something bad, you know, because the way that she's going right now, you do not want life to continually have to beat harder upon you to make you come to the correct solution, you know, situation.
Right. And I'm glad you said that because, you know, just because we are speaking on what we are presently seeing does not mean we don't believe this girl can change. Everybody has the ability to change, but it lies within that person. Yeah. And I feel that you can call out a person's behavior in real time, what you're seeing in real time, and it not go against the idea that this person can one day change and become a better person. I think we as a whole have to understand that. Mm-hmm. Last thing I want to just ask you about, because she feels very strongly that all is well. My children love me. My children know I love them. And one day they'll be able to come back to me and we'll be able to be this one big happy family. And she recently made it a point to say that, you know, good moms pick up the pieces for their children. They help their children, you know, deal with the traumas. They help their children deal with the mental and the emotional stuff that may have transpired as a result of them not being able to be with her. Mm-hmm. And it seems like when she said that, it was almost like she was excluding the part that she played, almost like she only sees the trauma and the mental and the emotional issues on her children being a result of what Nisha and Gerard has done. Mm-hmm. But she doesn't see what part she's played. Mm-hmm. And my question to you is, do you feel there is a huge possibility that this happy ending that she believes will happen when it comes to her children reaching a certain age and they can now go where they choose to go, mm-hmm. is going to be a reality?
I mean, I don't. It is so hard to really untangle the web that has been created in our
Yeah,
children's
the
lives.
web. I thought
Yeah,
that was interesting. The webs.
it is. Well, yeah. But she doesn't really understand because one thing about Liv, let's be real about this, she doesn't really do well with self accountability in general anywhere in her life, yet alone her part in having her kids taken away and not even really being there for them during the court case and whatnot. But your children are seeing both sides because they're over there with their father and his wife, and they're hearing that part of the story from that point of view. They're hearing, from your point of view, and then they're also seeing for themselves what's going on. Now, first off, even without her kids ever being taken away from her, girl, they have to unravel the trauma that they dealt with in your own house.
Yeah.
So they have their own personal trauma from her, separate from this whole case being with their father. So I think what she is not anticipating is that at this moment they are very young. They are not able to really articulate their feelings. They're not able to really express what's going on the inside of them. But when they get older, in order for them to just come back and sit with you and have this relationship that she would want them to have, there's going to be a lot of them holding her accountable for what she put them through in their young age. Because when they get older, that's when they're going to realize that they have been left with baggage that they have to deal with. And I just think with her, at some point, she has to think as a mother, think as a mom, not as a provider, someone that's providing a roof or, taking them here, there, feeding them. No, you're going to have to think about their mental health and, I'm going to have to go to therapy with my children so that we can unravel this, so we can start a healing process. But again, I don't think that she thinks as a mother because she doesn't know how to be a mother. So I don't think that she is even in a place where she can even assess the damage that she has done to those children or the situation has done to her children.
I so agree. I so agree with that. And the other reality of this situation is as her children get older and they're going through school and they're learning and growing stronger in their education, being able to think for themselves, being able to use context clues and put two and two together, and they are searching the internet looking to, come on now, they search in the internet and they're able to see for themselves what you said, how you behaved. They're going to be able to remember, oh, so this, when I was going through, oh, so this is what you were saying. This is seeing how she interact with her other two children, listening to other reactors. Like, they're going to be able to process this on such a intellectual way. And I think she's banking on the fact they're young, but at some point they're going to get older and they're going to have even a more further education than you. Because let's just talk about that. They are going to be with their father until they're 18, which means they're going to graduate high school, which means their education was extended longer than yours. I mean, we saw Robin speaking vocabulary that she didn't even understand what it meant. Robin had to break stuff down to Olivia just for her to get it. So I don't think Olivia really understands that her children are going to be able to decipher and they're going to be able to ask you questions, and they're not just going to take, they're not going to accept surface level responses from you. They're going to really want you to explain yourself. That is what it's going to take in order for them to trust you, to even make the decision if they want to even have a relationship with you. It's so many different things that Olivia is just not, she's not looking at with this.
I mean, I agree. And not her prolonging, not doing the work, that is the roadblock to everything in her life. Because again, your children are not going to be able to go anywhere. They're not going to be able to progress in a relationship with you. They're not going to be able to do much with you unless you start to reflect and do the self-work. I think if she's not really realizing, again, their pain, their resentment, and the things that they're going through, and as a child, somebody who's been a child of a parent who really didn't acknowledge her wrongs, sometimes you end up just going no contact. And, unfortunately, no child, and I've seen parents that have done the worst to their children, and their children still love them. Yeah. But it's kind of like, unfortunately, it gets to a point to where you start to stunt my healing because you refuse to heal. And you get to a point to where you have to choose yourself over your relationship with your parents because you don't want to continue the cycle.
Right.
So again, I just think she doesn't really realize how important it is that she does the work on herself, that she becomes self-aware and become very accountable in your life. And I'm not just talking about your children or your marriage. I'm saying for the things you've done. It's not enough to just say, you know, as you stated in your previous video, it's not enough to just say that I've done things that were bad to people. Like, no, you have to really sit back and say what I've done to Jasmine was wrong. I should have never done that. Or wherever you were wrong in your life. And that includes where you were wrong and you've hurt yourself. You have to take accountability for it and stop pointing the finger at everybody else that hurt you, and that being the reason why you are hurting others.
Yeah.
So she has to come to that place in her life where she is very self-aware and where she can see her reflection in a mirror, her inner reflection. So I honestly hope to see her get to that point. I don't enjoy the crash out. You know, my heart cries when I see it. I don't want to see her self-destruct.
Yeah.
It's real sad when you have children, as you know, young as the Webb children, of course, but when you look at AJ and you look at Kailani, those are your babies. They came from you. They deserve to have a well mother.
Yeah, I agree. I so agree. You know, when I look at accountability, it's like you're taking that healing balm and you're applying it to the wound.
Mm-hmm.
It's really the only way you can heal something that was put out there, whether it was a self-afflicted wound or you afflicted other people. Mm-hmm. You're exposing that wound, and the accountability is you're applying a healing balm to it so that you can really heal from it and move on. But when you keep dodging and hiding behind it and pretending that it didn't exist, that wound is just continually festering. And it's going to continue to fester until you deal with it. Because you cannot expect life to just be this spectacular, you know, thing that's going to happen, and you have caused all this damage. Mm-hmm. You have lit fires everywhere you go. You a trailblazer, literally. And you think everything is going to go right for you? Yeah. No. And I agree with you with everything you said there, but I also want to say, and I'm glad you said it, the other reality of this situation could be your children chooses not to have a relationship with you. That is a reality. And she needs to really take that into consideration as well. Mm-hmm. Because you cannot play with a person's peace. Mm-hmm. You cannot play with a person's peace of mind. Mm-hmm. And people can see when you are a toxic individual. Mm-hmm. Your children, to some degree, they may see certain things, but they're not fully grasping toxicity that's coming from her. All they see is this is mom. Mm-hmm. But as they get older and continue to get older, best believe they're going to understand what toxicity look like, feel like, what dysfunction looks like, feels like. They're going to understand it. And you ain't just going to be able to cry tears. That's not just going to be the only thing. You're going to have to explain. Mm-hmm. Because I feel people, and I'm not saying she does it, but I'm just speaking in general, people can be very manipulative with their tears. And I just feel like there is so much that Olivia has done. Mm-hmm. And if she truly wants to say she is healed, because we know she loves claiming that's what she is. But if you really want to be healed, you have to be able to be accountable for what you've done.
Yes, I totally agree. And I've seen how she spoke about, wanting to teach young girls to be this or be that. But, I don't think she really realizes that teaching can go two different ways. You can be a teacher, somebody who has triumphed and had victory and come through all things, but you can also be a cautionary tale that taught people. And I think that she has to be careful in life because you want your children to look up to you. You know, I don't really care about other people looking up to me, but you definitely want your children to look up to you. But you don't want to teach them by being a cautionary tale and them saying, you know, I don't want to be this because that's what my mom was. I watched my mom be uneducated, sleep around, or not really achieve anything. So I want to do the opposite of everything that she did. And I think she has to be very aware when your children are grown and successful, you can't really take credit for that. The credit that you can take is say that I set the type of example where they just wanted to be the complete opposite of me, and that's why they are successful.
And I'm so glad you said that too, because she does say that.
Yeah.
Anything good that her children does is because of her. Mm-hmm. Like, girl, how do you explain that when they ain't even, as of today, they have not been in your care for 5 years? You do not have the primary time with your children. So how do you take credit for their intelligence? Mm-hmm. How do you take credit for a Christian being good at sports?
And they were missing school while they were with her. Unfortunately, the person that you call the maid is educated. So she has a lot to do with why your children are becoming educated while they are continuing in their after-school program, their extracurricular activities. She has a lot to do with that. Yeah. So she may not be their biological mother, but she has left an imprint on them that is more of a positive imprint in some areas.
I agree. I so agree with that. Well, this has been a great conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
Any last words you would like to say before we end this?
I think we covered it all, so I genuinely don't have anything else to say.
Well, I enjoyed this. I think it was definitely a needed conversation. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well. And if you did, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. If you would like to see more of these type of conversations, I mean, it can be with other moms as well. Let us know in the comment section below too. And carry on the conversation. If there's anything that we spoke about that you agree or disagree with. As I've always said, if you disagree, just disagree respectfully. We ain't got to be ugly in the comment section because we all have an opinion and we all see things in different ways. You know, we have different perspectives, and that is okay. It is okay. But I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I'm going to see y'all in the next video. It's OneLove, and I'm out.